time last week he fed Nigella cheese on the Late Late Show, and tonight he has Rachel beside him. Life is tough.
Nigella who?
You might know Nigella, Seamus was very close to me in Galway in business. He's very active politically. If there is ever a covered market like the English market in Cork, in Galway, it would be because of his work. Seamus, you're very, very welcome. And next to him, John Concannon. John is an inventor, an entrepreneur who was also on the Late Late Show, but you'd be mistaken for thinking if that kicked off everything, John. I think there was a lot of hard work, a lot of tears. John has a multi-million-pound business out of Tuam. As far as I know, the townland you come from is Iron Pool.
That's right.
Very apt. John, you're very welcome. So, before we get to talk to our guests, just maybe I could recognise our local committee here in the front row. And I'm going to go as far as to ask you to take a stand, please, and turn around. I'm sorry, I've got to do this to you guys. It's because of you this happened, please. Up you come. Yeah. And this committee helped make everything possible. Thank you, guys. Thank you. I'd like to thank the school principal and for the Ray for the parish hall for our launch, and my own local staff here in Headford for putting up with me for the last few weeks. I suppose just about the event, what's next was one of the questions I was asked. What's it all about? What's in it for the bank, which is a fair question. I, like many others, have been to Dublin. I've seen how restaurants are full and there are bags from every store on the street, not just a few stores. It's thriving. It seems to be coming out of recession. In Galway is waiting for that to happen. Slowly but surely, customer sentiment is building up. So, what about Portumna? What about Athenry? What about Headford? Are we to wait till Galway happens, wait and see what happens? I think if this achieves anything, what we should do is jump the queue. Let's make it happen for Headford and stop waiting for it to happen. And if we achieve that out of this is a small step along the way. You know, anybody out there, if you make one more purchase from somebody you see in this room, if you talk to somebody here and make a referral to them, you know, it will answer the question, what comes next? We'll do it for Headford. If you don't think it's possible, all I'll ask you to do is make it probable. Make possible probable. And that will achieve something out of this event. My role in Bank of Ireland is less significant. It comes down the road big time. If you get to the stage where probable and not possible is in your mindset, all I'd say is, we have money to lend. Come and talk to me. That's our involvement from Bank of Ireland. We're hoping that Headford realises its potential. We're open for business, and as I say, I'd love to make it happen for Headford. So, I'm going to talk to my guests now in a second. I have Paddy down there, Paddy from Changes. Paddy is going to take questions from you once I talk to our guests. Paddy, where are you? Here we are, Paddy. Paddy, you're going to do a session later on, and I'd ask you all to convene again for that. We're going to have music straight after this session, and then Paddy is going to do a piece about changing mindsets, Paddy. Is that possible?
Yeah, of course. Just do a little bit on, you know, when it's going great as an entrepreneur and building a business and that, you know, everything's fine, but it's when things aren't, and trying to keep that mindset on track and strong. So hopefully I'll be sharing just a few tips around that, and maybe somebody might be able to take something away from that.
Okay, that's great. So, our guests. And I'll start, Rachel. Your book. I'll let you hold it. Rachel.
Thank you.
One thing I'll say about your book, it's very supportive of local producers. What do you see as the future? I mean, what's the next big thing for producers? And what do you see as possible for anybody in that business here in Headford?
That's a very good question, isn't it? It's, I mean, food-wise is I suppose what I think about, obviously, and know about a bit more than anything else. And it's really our produce, isn't it? It's every time I'm travelling, more and more and more over the last 10 years of quite a lot of travelling. It is really fantastic to know that we are now becoming quite well known, very well known for our produce, for fantastic, well, dairy, that's something that Seamus will be able to attest to, and our produce just being second to none. So I think that's what we've got to just keep pushing, be it our meat, our dairy. It's just, and it is second to none, and we all know that. So that's really the big thing, and that's the next big thing. And you know, when people will say when we're away, oh, not that it's the next big thing, not that that's something that no one's thought of, but it is still what we have to keep pushing. It's one of our strongest. It's absolutely one of our strongest economies as such.
Yeah.
But.
And Seamus, not to be outdone, has another book for Christmas. Seamus, your book, in it you deal with the 40 Irish cheeses that are being manufactured at the moment. Along with cheese, what openings are there as well? How do you perceive the market for small producers?
Well, I've been thinking long and hard over the last, I suppose, 10 years. One town that really strikes me is Portumna. Then we've got Headford and Ballinasloe. And it's very difficult to articulate. We're developing as a society. We've developed with our one-off housing. We have that way we want to live. And we're all quite happy in doing that. But therefore we get in the car and we go to the supermarket. So we're bypassing our towns. I remember 3 years ago working in a small village in France, and I was with one of the biggest grain farmers in the area. But he lives in town. He wouldn't dream of living on his farm, because he wants to live beside his baker and his restaurant. So, with a town like Headford or Portumna, you're just off the Wild Atlantic Way, but you've got massive tourists coming to Con, just thousands of cars every day taking a left turn, or I take a left turn by mistake, going straight to Con. So, what can you do? Outside food, and something I really believe in for people here, there's huge opportunities in areas such as jewellery, in pottery, and in textiles. I've always worn, for the last 20 years, Irish textiles. Sometimes I get slagged on the television for looking like a goat, as the Sunday Independent pointed out a few weeks ago, but I'd like to point out to the author in the Sunday Independent that the clothes I wear create jobs in Ireland, and he can have his suit manufactured somewhere in the Far East if he wants to not look like a goat. So, if you had one or two successful, if you had a brilliant silversmith in Headford, people would stop, and that would be the start. If you had a very good weaver in Headford, and that really excites me, people would stop. If you had a very good cheesemaker, so in my area of cheese, I've got beautiful cheesemakers, and they're fantastic. A lot of them do animal husbandry, in other words, they milk, they farm, they wipe the shit off their boots, they put the milk through the wall, they make the cheese. They ripen the cheese, which is very difficult. They sell the cheese. They go to Super Value for tastings. They go for London for tastings. They have to go up to Borbia. They have to go to meetings. They have to do the accounts. They have to ring up Sheridans and ask them to pay me, for God's sake. So it's a very difficult thing for one person to do. When you look at the French model, you could have cheesemakers who all make the same type of cheese on their farms, but their job is over, because after a couple of weeks, those cheeses are taken to the town of Headford, and they're matured in a beautiful maturing rooms in Headford. All the farms' cheeses are matured together. There's one person doing accounts, and there's one person doing the science. So it's that cooperation between farms, and I think the greatest potential we have in this area is, of course, in dairy, but particularly in sheep. And I think the most valuable product that I sell and on the European market is sheep's milk. And the value of milk lamb is massive. And if you can combine modern technology with proper fleeces and proper, so for me, it's different areas. It's a very difficult thing to get involved in food, but I think back to the co-op basis and supporting small businesses. There are some thoughts anyway.
Good, thank you. And John, you've been down this road as an entrepreneur over the years. Is it easier now? What's your view on entrepreneurship at the moment? Are there more supports available than when you started out?
Well, I feel out of my depth up here tonight that I don't have a book, number one.
There has to be a book in it, John.
In case they don't know, I'm the guy that makes the buckets, that makes the cows, that makes the cheese, that makes the bread. I started out in 1987 making buckets for milking cows and feeding calves, so it has been a long road from that to now. Startup and small business is a tough place to be. And it's so exciting tonight to see so many displays of people here doing their bit, having a go, trying. Believe me, I was that soldier. And it's all great and good about manufacturing it and having it, getting it ready, getting the packaging, but you've got to sell it. And for me, the most needed ingredient in any business is salesmanship. A lot of people think they're selling, but they don't. And like to think Rachel would come all the way from Waterford up to here to see him. That's a long spin.
Cork,
sorry. It's a long spin to come, and that's promoting. And they always say you should make 15 new friends every week. And she's got loads of new friends here tonight, and hopefully I'll go home and I'll have a few as well. And our customers are all over Europe. And in Ireland alone, I think we used to have about 700 stores. Today with about 500 that we supply product into. So times have changed and small stores have gone away. But having said that, over the years from Jim Jice, Pat Jice and people like that are awful important customers for us where we display our plastic products.
Thank you, John. Sorry, Rachel, just back to you. There's sometimes an urgency about scaling up, You're at a level of production. Is small beautiful? Should some small producers stay small and become expert, or should they be in this rush to scale up?
I think that's a really good question, actually, because quite often one's quality, to scale up, has to come down. And I'm really saying has to come down because I know of a few producers who've been in this situation where it sounds like at first the best news in the world that a certain supermarket, and I'm not thinking of one particular supermarket, but I'm not bad-mouthing any supermarkets at the same time, but it's the economics of supermarkets that they want to stock their produce. But then there's this thing that say if it's eggs, for instance, and I know of this case that actually happened. These poultry farmers, egg farmers, friends of ours, once they were stocked by the supermarkets, then actually about a year or two later, so they upscaled and they bought extra land, but then they were told actually that it was out to tender. And so they had to give their best price for half a dozen eggs. So they have to bring their price down. So actually, they're not free range anymore. Actually, the son took over, and he's out in the supermarkets now because they couldn't stay free range. So, and this is a big thing. Do you think, Seamus? I think this is quite a big, but it's a tricky one.
Scale is a very difficult thing. If you look at cheese, the value of, just call it 10 euros, is what you can get from making a farmhouse cheese. If you make the best farmhouse cheese in the world, you're going to get 11 euros. If you make a really not very nice one, you're still going to get 9. So there's no reward. There's no reward for being the very best at that scale unless you can command a higher price. And our relationship with price is a very difficult thing, because I don't want to sound preachy, but when I was filling the shopping bags for my local car club a few months ago, it really struck me what people are actually spending their money on, yet they're worried about price. So if I was to tell you that a frozen pizza that I buy for my kids, by the way, because I live next door to a little convenience shop, and there's plenty of days a week that Seamus, the great chef, goes in and buys 2 frozen pizzas. Don't worry about that. The cost of that $2.99 or $3.99 frozen pizza is 14 cents. That's the cost of the ingredients. 14 cents for your €3 pizza. So you have to remember, you know, what value and money. But on scale, when myself and Kevin started to make the crackers, we knew that scale was the most important thing. So we nowhere on the crackers did we say that this was going to be handmade. What we concentrated on was what's the best. We've only got 3 ingredients: wholemeal flour, butter, and buttermilk. So we realised that there's an endless supply down in County Cork where we make the crackers of buttermilk, wholemeal flour, and butter. So what we're now investing in is the process. So how do we go from making 2,000 crackers a month to 500,000 crackers in 4 years? It's building up that scale. But even though we got a contract with Marks and Spencer's 3 months ago into 500 stores, I thought we'd sell 10 crackers in every store a week, which is great, 5,000 crackers. You end up only selling 2. And so you're really happy for a month, counting your chickens before they hatch. But when you look at, in reality, there's so few Irish food companies. There is an illusion. Seamus, we put on a food festival and get all the local suppliers. Which local suppliers? And if you want to put on a food festival, you should be paying the suppliers to come in instead of charging them £400 for a stall, because it costs them so much money.
Absolutely, they have to take the time out of their work.
So it's this illusion that we have by looking at all the ads in all the supermarkets of all these ones. We don't. We've only, I'd say, 10 or 15 anyway, large-scale independent food suppliers. Flavins, Barry's, you can name it yourselves.
Yeah.
John, resilience would probably be your byword down the years. Any other advice for would-be entrepreneurs? They're going to get knocked back. Fortitude, strength, all of those things. What do you think?
Well, I suppose the most important thing is you don't give up. You got to keep at it. I feel that we're definitely coming out of recession. You know, it's now a good time to start. And I think if you wind the clock back, when I started, there's not many people here that probably know, but interest rates at the time was about 18%. So, you know, money today is an awful lot cheaper than then, if you can get your hands on it. And it's great to see guys like you come out and wave the flag and say, here we have cash to give out. So everybody in the room, you can know where to call and tell them, I sent you next week if there's any problem. You know, times have been tough. Times have been very unkind to people. And, you know, this word that popped up was recession. It was a major hit on an awful lot of people, including our company. And, you know, we were a company at the time doing 40 million. And 6 months we dropped by 10. So, you know, we had to cut our cloth, we had to restructure, change, and reinvent ourselves. And it took us that was in 2007 and 8. And we've been since that, and we've brought it back up to nearly to 50 million again. So, you know, there's no such thing as give up. The other thing is, it's great to get these products into the likes of Marks and Spencer's and these places all over the world, but the Irish market is a great little market, and we should never forget that. And UK is great, they have the same language, they're just across the water, and a fantastic market. At this point in time, with sterling and the strength of it, it's a fantastic market for us and for an awful lot of other people. And it's a huge benefit to a lot of small companies who now can open up export doors that they couldn't do when sterling and euro was nearly on parity going back a couple of years ago.
Okay, thank you all. I'm going to ask for a few questions. Maybe there might be somebody down there who wants to ask our guests. While I'm doing that, 070 39113, your lights are on. Bad enough to be floods, but your battery flat as well. So that's 070 39113. Paddy, where are we? You're the new Paddy, okay. Okay. Anybody like to ask a question? Hi.
Hi, being a small producer, is it worth our while to keep going because we make a fresh product that has a short shelf life? Do we keep pushing and keep going, or stay really small and not try and get bigger?
Oh, look, without getting too personal, but over the last 7 years I've been very lucky. My wife is a school teacher. Very, very, very lucky. Waiting for letters from him to come through the letterbox. It's been horrendous, and people don't know the stress. When I see small producers desperately trying to make a living wage out of 5 grand or 10 grand a year, if they're lucky, and I see enterprise boards, government state boards, where the average wage is 100 grand. The average wage. When I go out to Chagas or to other meetings and I say, let's talk about food in the west of Ireland and employment, there's 3 of us, if we're lucky, who actually work with our own companies. There's about 30 or 40 other people in suits, male and female, all sitting around, all on 70, 80, 90, 150 grand a year, all working on this illusion that they're creating jobs. And I think we must look at, say, Leinster, Connacht, Munster and Ulster as 4 areas. We only need 1 enterprise officer, we only need 1 food officer. We don't need 1 in South Galway, North Galway, South Galway, Mayo, the islands, the Iron Islands, blah, 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 blah. Rural development can't. It's a duplication. So if you want to create, as a small producer, you're not getting the assistance. For a small, fresh producer, you just mentioned it jokingly, but every city in Europe supports their small producers with civic markets and access to markets. I love big supermarkets, but I love small, and it's the balance. And we really have to get our act together to create things like civic markets in the city centre of Galway that people can feed into, that mixed agriculture can survive. But the power of the large multiples are much too big in Ireland, and that with the decimation of our small towns and our small shops, and we now think food as an elitist item. We think talking about food is posh. Listen to the radio. Oh, only posh people talk about food. Rachel Allen, Seamus Sheridan. That's rubbish. You go to the south of France or to Italy, and everybody who supports farmers and supports the right to eat good food are as much left-wing and as much from poorer backgrounds. We have this notion that food is somehow posh and elite. We've got to get rid of that and look after our small farmers and our mixed farmers and pay the right price for our produce and not pay enterprise boards or the IFA.
And it is also hard, isn't it, with them, as we hear from producers all the time, they see how can they compete with these 3 for 2s, buy 1, get 1 free in supermarkets. And I think there should be, as you say, someone protecting the food producers, someone,
Yeah, just without going on too much, it's very difficult. We've only got 4 or 5 billion, as you said, our Irish customers are important, but it's very difficult for a small food company to set up in Ireland. If we had 2 nephews and they were setting up rare big pigs in the Cotswolds or the home counties in England, they'd have about 500 gastro pubs desperately trying to get their product. And the same with the cheese or meat. It's a very small economy we have in Ireland of 4 or 5 million people. If we're going to succeed, if you can do something that is a very good product and be successful, and if you can locate that in a tourist area so you can supply shops but you get a second income of people pulling by, whether it's buying a smoked mackerel or a smoked salmon or a cheese, if you can combine our massively successful tourism with small businesses, and that's by putting a little business in Headford where the people can stop, or on the road down to Kinvara. All those little areas, you have 2 streams of income. And it's very difficult, and I know exactly what you're saying, but you can't scale up if the market's not there. So it's where you locate the business, and there's so much we could do. That's it.
Okay, folks, thank you for that.
Just another point there is an awful lot of small producers, and over the years I've done hundreds of trade shows in Europe. And there's a show in Paris, SEMA, and there's one section of that is completely nothing but food and food halls. And it's attached to the agricultural show, but it's so educational for people to go there. And like there's tickets for, if you buy them on time, for 40 or 50 euro, and go and visit and see what they're doing. And despite what people might think, this craft trade and the food trade and all these cheeses and hams and all the other fish and everything, they're all presented in beautiful ways, all from small little communities like you talked about. And I think that that's what people, like an event like this is great to bring people together. But I think then they should meet after this and then have a plan of where are we going to go, where's the trade show we're going to go to. Enterprise Ireland and the County Enterprise Board, going back some years ago, we brought a group of people to the show in Germany, and I don't know what that was, Agritechnica. So there's loads of opportunities out there, and again, to get in, understand, talk to people, taste the food and see it. There's a learning experience there, and people need to do that, just to see what's happening. It's no different to here, but I think they're better organised, and they're grouping together, and they'll present at a show. You'll get an area, maybe, and it'll be funded by some local enterprise board or something like that, and they'll all be presented with small stands, like you have today, but it would be international. It would be really international flavour.
Okay, and that's the challenge back to us in Headford, I think, what we can do with that. Look, I want to thank my guests, Rachel, Seamus and John, for being here this evening. Thank you, and thank you for your contribution.